Back from the NBA Cup break, your Philadelphia 76ers home to host the Indiana Pacers, and no Tyrese Haliburton. That's not the only Tyrese out tonight. Yes, for the first time this season, no Tyrese Maxey for your Philadelphia 76ers as we get ready for Sixers Pacers. PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. I'm Devon. That's Rich. Bree is with us as well. And again, we are presented by Bet365. We'll have our Bet365 pregame picks a little bit later, see where we go from there after a few days off. Can we get a W as well with us? We'll talk about the starters, certainly, because with Tyrese Maxey out, who's in for the Sixers in the starting lineup for Tyrese Maxey? And as we speak about who's in, well, we know the young guards are going to play. Who's going to play the most minutes? Who's going to have the most impact? We'll talk about that, certainly. But we do have to begin. Look, Tyrese Maxey is out. And with Tyrese Maxey out, he has an illness. I think we made a, right, Rich? We made a judgment call. It's cold outside. We don't want to get sick. Let's all stay home on this Friday night, and let's not get sick. Do
you think he has what Bree has, Devon?
I don't know, but she's much better off. She can, game time decision, no way for Bree. She's in no matter what. Tyrese Maxey is out, though. And with that, man, I mean, listen, he's been fantastic. 23 games in the books. They're 13 and 10 at this part of the season, right around the quarter mark of the season, and he has been tremendous. So an illness knocks him back, no big deal. We know that he will be playing if not for this illness that he currently has. So with that, as we start with him, someone else is going to have to step up, and one player that is, in fact, in, and I know we have talked about this before with the in and out nature of Joel Embiid and Paul George in the lineup, specifically Joel Embiid, and you have said it, and you were right. Is it bad that you don't really care as much when you hear that he's in or out because of how things have been going? But tonight, you probably need him a little bit with no Tyrese Maxey. So your thoughts as we start off, Maxey out, Embiid in, can he turn back the clock?
It's pretty ironic that this is how Tyrese Maxey is going to miss his first game of the year, right? I feel like all we've talked about is, oh man, I can't believe how many minutes this guy is playing. 43 minutes on the second half of a back-to-back. Like, is this guy going to be able to handle this minutes load? And the answer is that it was an illness that has kept him out for this game. So again, I don't think it's a bad thing to let him just get off his feet for a little while, as my cat goes nuts outside right now. Which is, it's fine. Derek's cats do that as well. But yeah, I think it's, hopefully he's not too sick, but the idea of him getting off his feet for a game is like not the worst thing in the world, probably. Now it is weird because this team has been so Tyrese Maxey centric for the entire season. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like in terms of, do you play more through Joel Embiid? I mean, I assume it's going to be a thing where it's going to be by committee, where it's everybody's going to have to give a little bit more. It's not going to just be one guy soaking up all of the responsibility. But yeah, I mean, Tyrese Maxey has done everything for this team. He's probably been asked to do a little bit too much, and especially as they have shifted to more of a defensive team and played some of these bigger lineups, he's been asked to score even more and handle the offensive load. So we'll see what it's going to look like, but I think Joel is a perfect place to start. I think Paul George is another place to start. And the third guy, I would say, somebody who I think fans have been a little peeved about his playing time. There's been some questions, not everybody, but it's certainly something we are getting in the chat and with different fans, is that Jared McCain, he ends up he doesn't play a lot of the second halves of these games. And it's because Nick Nurse is rolling with VJ and, of course, playing Tyrese pretty much the whole second half. Well, there's no Tyrese tonight, so you would think Jared McCain is going to have a much a longer rope tonight in terms of his playing time. Like, he's going to be penciled into both the first and second half, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
We'll get to the young guards and talk about them just in a second, because I do want to look at the Embiid side of it, because, as you said, this is different territory that we've been in before. It's, Joel is missing time. How's this offense going to look with Tyrese Maxey? And we started to see a longer runway of that, of what that looks like, and we now have an answer years later of the positive side of it, where Tyrese Maxey is certainly carrying this team 13 and 10 right now through the 23 games. his first game missed, carrying. And now with Joel Embiid not being himself and being in and out of the lineup, we've talked about, hey, what if he does play a certain amount of games in a row, or let's say he plays 5 of 7 and he starts to really get his legs back underneath him. We haven't yet seen what that looks like, Rich. I mean, yes, he did start the season off and played, a few games to start the season where they started the season on Wednesday. He plays against Charlotte on Saturday, and he plays against some of these other teams, plays Washington, doesn't look good, but plays in these other games. We haven't really seen it, so we don't know right now what this might look like, where it's a Joel Embiid centric offense. Paul George, as you mentioned, and the young guards too, because there are questions with that. But with that being said, this is not foreign territory for Joel Embiid. It's just foreign in the condition that he's currently in because of I guess, trusting his knees, trusting his body. And also the last time we saw him, he was 5 for 21 from the floor, and he got some really good looks, but he didn't look like the 4 for 21. Sorry.
Don't give him that 5th one, man. He didn't earn it. No, I'm kidding. It was rough.
I tried to give him a little bit more. But yeah, man, we just haven't seen this in such a long time. We've seen it in game where Tyrese Maxey is sat down, Joel Embiid is out there. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. But this one, I am very curious. I'm really curious because last season we talked about, hey, Nick Nurse coming into the season is going to have this many versions of the offense. Joel Embiid led with Tyrese Maxey out there. Joel Embiid sits, Tyrese is out there, it's his. Paul George, we don't know what it looks like, but Paul George, they paid him all this money. That's another version of an offense. So they're going to have 3 to 4 different versions of an offense that's going to be led by one of those 3 all-stars that should result in a lot of wins. We didn't get a chance to see but 15 games with those guys together. And Joel Embiid, as we know, played a minimal amount last season and then had to be shut down early. We still don't know what a version of the Sixers offense looks like now. Number 1, without Tyrese Maxey. Number 2, where it's led by Joel Embiid and or Paul George. And then now we have to talk about the young guards at some point, most likely after the break. But Rich, I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what this looks like tonight, especially against an Indiana team that has won 3 of their last 5. They are 3-2 in their last 5 games, as Bree put up there on the graphic that we had yesterday. They're pretty much identical as the Sixers over these last 5 games. And Joel Embiid has not played in a lot of them. Tyrese Maxey has. I'm very curious to see what this looks like, man.
I called this in the newsletter today the trickiest game against the 6-18 team in the history of NBA basketball, and it's even trickier now because your best player is not playing in this one, and the guy that's soaked up all of these possessions. So I kind of view this game as a toss-up, honestly, man. Like, I would not be surprised with a loss tonight. And you mentioned, I mean, Joel Embiid, yeah, of course he understands what it's like to handle the offensive load and handle scoring and running it through him. Is he capable of doing that even for one night? I think the guy from a few weeks ago against the Raptors, I would have said, yeah, okay, he could turn it back for a night. But honestly, after watching the way he shot the ball the past few nights, particularly on Sunday, we'll see what it looks like. I thought, we were correct after the game, and I was happy to see some of the coverage afterwards, as people sort of settled down. It was like, okay, those were a lot of open shots. Like, the process was good, but like at some point you do have to just make shots. Like, he doesn't do any all of the things on the defensive end that he used to do to make him a plus player, regardless of whether that shot is going in. He actually needs to be a very good offensive player to keep his value. So we'll see. We'll see if he's capable of it tonight. I imagine they'll be running a lot through him. I'd like to see him more involved in the dribble handoff game. And I think, honestly, man, like, we've seen a lot of that this year where he wants to get the ball moving. Like, you see him pointing to Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre and Paul George, like, come to me, get the dribble handoff, and let's get the ball moving. There have been times where it's gotten a little stagnant and he's had to take the last shot. I think some of that, maybe that's his fault, trying to figure out his place in the offense. Some of it might be that the offense is bogged down and he's just got to do something about it. Maybe that's coaching or the other players not doing what's possible. But I think, yeah, you're definitely going to need a big Embiid game tonight, especially against a team that's not very big either. Like, this is a team he should be able to score on, I would say. But like, look, it's a big night for Joel. And the other thing I would say, man, is like, even when he was good, I always used to call him such a rhythm basketball player, where it was like the great unknown with him because you didn't want to play him too many minutes and too many games in a row because then he'd get hurt, he'd get tired. But there was a sweet spot in there that once he started to roll off a bunch of games in a row, he'd start to get into a groove. That's when the touch would be great. He's had 4 days off after that rough game, so he's not getting into a rhythm. So we'll see what he has, but it's certainly it's not the conditions that we saw when he was good, I would say. Be great if we saw it though.
Yeah, it would be. Markel_Futz in the chat says return of the M-Beast tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Look, he's going against Isaiah Jackson. Jay Huff's going to get some minutes out there as well.
He used to torch these guys.
I know he used to, and that's the thing. The boy RJ already said automatic L now with Tyrese Maxey out.
Maybe.
And
we'll see. I
saw our guy, Ramid said, can we get some McCain love from the coach tonight? We're going to talk about that one shortly. I think this is going to be, this is a Friday night. It's cold outside. Everybody's like, oh, they're playing the Indiana Pacers. No Tyrese Maxey. So this is maybe not as much of a draw as it should be, because we might learn some stuff tonight too of what Nick Nurse wants to do with some of the pieces that he has to him. Now that he's playing shorthanded with a different guy, with the All-Stars now out of the lineup for him carrying the season the way that he has. So very interesting, very curious to see how it all plays out. We all three of us are here. We can see in the chat, all of you are. Now we got to talk about the guards, because that's a big piece of it too, because you have some really good guards opposite them, where they're going to have their hands full. What's it going to look like without Tyrese Maxey off the floor? We'll break it all down when we get back. Sixers Pacers tonight in South Philly, back from their 4-day layoff because of the NBA Cup. They don't care about the Cup. So we get a fourth Indiana Pacers game now on the schedule, 3 more to go during the campaign. We break it all down. We talk about the guards. We'll get to the starters, pregame picks a little bit later. We are presented by At Home, even at home, our good people from. I'm going to tell you on the other side. And yes, that's the good people from Bet365, everyone. Whatever the moment's never ordinary. At Bet365 should get interesting with the wagers tonight in the Sixers-Pacers matchup with no Tyrese Maxey. Where are you guys leaning? Well, right now, what I can tell you as a person that is one of the 90 million users worldwide for all of you, maybe you are part of the live in-game betting or the early payouts for the NBA and the NHL as well. If your team goes up by 20 in the NBA, early payout for you. What you can get tonight is a 30% profit boost on any NBA game, including your Sixers-Pacers game here tonight. Also, in the NHL, you get a super profit boost with 50% in the NHL if you want to wager something on hockey. And if you are a new customer, you want to sign up, you're saying, you know what, I've heard about this quite a bit, want to jump on in there? Here's what it is. Breaking news. New customers get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. All you have to do is deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $150 credited, win or lose. Whatever the moment's never ordinary. The bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. It's all right there at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, I was over the other day at a friend's place to watch some hoops. I'm going to tell you about him in the post game, but it wasn't good. The setup, it was a total mess. There was lagging, buffering, and we were switching between apps trying to find the game. This guy, who again, I'm going to tell you about later, he claimed he was a big fan, but I felt like I was fan-fished. See, if you call yourself a basketball fan, you got to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place, and the way that I watch, it's next level. It is the perfect fan flex, guys. I've got all the action right there in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. So clear that it feels like I'm in the arena. And sometimes I've got 4 games going at once, because why not? On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right there on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every single time. So next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail, and learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
Oh, Derek's jumping in. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers pregame show. Rich, Devon, Bree, all of you, thank you. Derek says, don't you dare, Rich. Already there in the chat, calling it out, saying you better not, Rich. You better save it. Don't do anything. Not at all when it comes to him. All right, let's get to it, because, man, this is going to be a fun one. By the way, Markel Futz also says in Bet365, I'm betting the third quarter under. That's a good call, Markel Futz. That's a very good call when it comes to the Sixers and their trends. All right, Rich, the young guards. What are they going to do tonight? You have both McCain and Edgecombe. They're available tonight. You can include Quentin Grimes. We've seen him in starting roles without Tyrese Maxey and what he can do. What are you expecting from the young guards? And we've gotten a lot of McCain conversation in the chat as you brought it up in the first segment.
It looks like McCain, just, to give a little bit of a spoiler, we're not going to say the starters. He's not one of them. I think he's the interesting guy, right? Because I think he, as we've talked about, there's this interesting dynamic going on where it seems like with a guy like VJ Edgecombe, this Sixers coaching staff, they trust him. And when he's having a rough offensive game, when he's shooting poorly, when he's turning the ball over in the pick and roll, they're giving him the ball, the pick and roll on the backup lineups. Like, he has the ability to work through that. And maybe they just believe in his potential long term, or they just say, you know what, like, we think he's going to make winning plays down the stretch, whether that's with his defense or with his shooting, and he has more avenues to help us win. Jared McCain has really not had that level of trust from the coaching staff. And I think for the first week or so, it was understandable because he just didn't look good. Like, he clearly looked slow. And I think that was a product of wearing that big bulky brace that he was wearing. He's now had his moments where he has looked pretty good. It hasn't been every single game, but it's clear that even with some flashes of positive play, there have been games like last game, he only played 3 minutes in the second half off the bench. And that was a lot of people's big takeaway afterwards, is where is Jared McCain in the second half? And the Sixers have primarily used him off the ball, I would say. They probably have less of a choice to do that tonight. Like, I think if he's playing off the ball a lot tonight, that means, wow, I mean, VJ Edgecombe is bringing it up a lot, number one. And then they're going to go to Quentin Grimes as their other main ball handler, but they don't have Tyrese Maxey to soak up all of these offensive possessions. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. I think Jared McCain should probably get more on ball reps than he's had all season, but I got to see it to believe it. But I think the hope would be, all right, we talked in the first segment, Embiid takes over. You're able to play through him a little bit. You're able to play through Paul George, but also on those second units, those VJ and Grimes point guard lineups have struggled. Maybe that's McCain tonight, and maybe McCain has a big game against a team that, again, you can score on this team. I think the Pacers are.
I agree.
I'm looking at it right now. They're actually 23rd in defense. They're a worse offense than a defense this year. They've been a little bit better on that end, but obviously this is not like some of these games where we've seen McCain struggle. It's like, all right, well, you're playing against the Detroit Pistons and they're long and they're nasty, or you're playing against Atlanta. They can just switch every single thing. This is a team he should be able to attack.
Now, we have seen them have trouble with the extended pressure from the defensive guards, and Andrew Nembhard is one that can be.
They created it.
Yeah. So
the whole league kind of took their cue. Like, the Pacers obviously have been very successful with this, and I would say Nembhard and TJ,
100%.
I think the whole league took that blueprint and saw what it did for Indiana and how they were able to just outlast teams. And so, yeah, like Nembhard, that's the thing, man. They have Nembhard, they have Siakam. Like, yeah, other guys are out. Like, they have like Nesmith out. They have somebody else out who I'm blanking on right now, who's a pretty important. Toppin's out, I believe, too, like another important player. But their main two guys, and obviously Haliburton's not playing, but he hasn't been playing the entire year. They have guys who can like put up big scoring nights and guys who can keep that identity. Look, Nembhard is not Tyrese Haliburton in his ability to push the ball and get people open shots, but he can push the pace, right? TJ's still out there. He can push the pace. Siakam is a really tough guy to guard. I'm hoping for some Dom Barlow minutes on him tonight. But yeah, again, man, like, I think you're right. Like, this is a tricky team, and like you said, they are the masters of pressuring the ball. Hey, maybe it doesn't always work because maybe those defensive numbers tell me, hey, you can blow by these guys for layups if you do it correctly and you handle the pressure the right way. But they're going to try and do it. Like Rick Carlisle is going to go out there and say, hey, we're going to try and make this a track meet. That's always the way he's wanted to play with this team, for better or worse. You know, when the Sixers have handled this pressure and Joel has feasted on their poor interior defense, it's a 140-135 game. And the Sixers have done well against it before, but the Pacers also have beaten them as well. And I think some of this game might boil down to, like, Can you keep it at your pace? Can you run at the right times and not get sped up too much? So yeah, it's a big test for the young guards.
Ben Shepherd is another guard, but he's out tonight. So just adding to your list of players who extending that pressure, maybe hit that, knock down some open shots as well. Ben Shepherd is also out tonight, but Ben Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Nembhard, and those guys are available. So it's not going to be easy, and they certainly will, again, try to push up on those young guards to see how they respond and handle that. As a result, that's where you do have Paul George to help alleviate some of that pressure. This probably would have been a decent game to have Trendon Watford if he was available.
Yes.
And now I do wonder this, though, because you're playing with those three guards and Paul George. As a result, when the issues were there because of lack of ball handling and some foul trouble with the guards, we saw Kyle Lowry for a few minutes as well.
Yeah, you might see him. Yeah.
That's where I was going to lean and ask you, could you possibly see something there for some stability?
A little bit like the Brooklyn game where you're just,
exactly. Yeah,
you need it's probably not going to be all that pretty. He played against Milwaukee as well. He got some run in that one. Yeah, I think you could see him, and I think it's especially with Maxey being out, it's not like an Eric Gordon game where he really helps you with bringing the ball up and getting you organized. It's just like, Kyle Lowry, can you just play some replacement level minutes for about 15 minutes, maybe make 1-3 and right. Get a couple dimes and don't
set a couple of screens. Over. Yeah,
totally.
Right.
Totally. No, I think that's a good point. I'm very curious to see, like, again, Devon, it's not only that you got to replace 40 minutes, but you got to replace the complete focal point of your offense. So there's a lot of different ways. Nick Nurse, I believe from the tweets that I was reading, that he said, okay, well, Tyrese has been out this whole week, so we've had a little bit of practice trying to play without him and seeing how that looks. We'll see. I mean, this is a weird game in that you don't usually have NBA games where both teams have this much rest and this much practice time. I feel like this is, if Tyrese was hurt on the second night of a back-to-back against a decent team, like, I think, to go back to RJ's point, I believe it was the first comment, like automatic loss or whatever. I think that's probably true. Maybe with a little more practice time, they're able to iron out some of the issues that come with Tyrese Maxey being out there, but we'll see. The Pacers just have had a lot of time to practice and get fresh too.
That's where I lean a little more Quentin Grimes. As Bree, we can get ready to throw up the starters for tonight to get the starting five. VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes in the backcourt, Paul George, Dominic Barlow, Joel Embiid rounding out the five. Back in black tonight in their retro uniforms. And we know the Sixers and the Pacers during that era, that was a fun time where the Sixers just couldn't beat the Pacers and finally got over the hump in that first round. And Toronto, Milwaukee after that, getting to the NBA Finals. But with that said, Rich, we saw a lot of Quentin Grimes, point guard Quentin Grimes last season in the times where Embiid, George, and Maxey were off the floor. And even when Maxey was out there on the floor with Grimes, we saw both of those two guys handling a lot of the ball pressure. And he played point guard. Quentin Grimes did quite a bit last season in late February, obviously after the trade, but certainly in March and in April, point guard Grimes was a real thing where he would put up 5 assists early, get about 4 rebounds, and then later on he would turn up his offense to get close to a triple-double, certainly a double-double on those nights. That's where I think a lot of that is going to lean on him, because he is a veteran. He can handle that ball pressure. We did see it in the Nick Nurse offense without Maxey on the floor. I think we see quite a bit of that tonight. Yeah.
And honestly, man, like, if they have a decent offensive game tonight, like, I have the feeling when you look at that lineup, that's a good defensive lineup, man. Like, I think Joel is the biggest worry, and I think he's made some small strides. I don't think he's a good defensive center right now. He clearly has not been over the small amount of time he's played in these games, but you're pretty plus at the other 4 spots there. So I think you have a chance to be pretty good. The big question is, what is the offense like? How are you getting sustainable, good looks? And I think it's going to have to be, you throw the ball to Joel at the top of the key, and he's got to keep it moving with dribble handoff game, running guys off screens. Like you said, whether it's Grimes or VJ, the first step is like, can you just get the ball up the court? Like, which is not a given with those guys, right? And I think Maxey, part of the underrated value of him is that he can just get the ball up the court and get you at least into your offense pretty easily, despite facing a ton of pressure. So those are the starters. It's a good defensive lineup. I like. I was looking at some of the stats over the past few weeks. I like Barlow and Embiid conceptually together I think pairing those two, I don't like Barlow and Drummond as much together because I just think the lack of shooting is rough. And those guys who have both been good so far this year have struggled when they've played together. So I think in general, if you're going to play the two-way guys at the 4, that would be Barlow and Walker. What I would do is mainly tether Barlow to Embiid's minutes and then get Walker in there with Drummond because Walker, again, not like a lights out 3-point shooter, but has shown some flashes, had that Milwaukee game a few weeks ago. Like the shot looks pretty good, looks pretty smooth, those type of things. So that's another thing to look for. But I wonder against this Indiana team that can go small, like maybe we see some PG at the 4 as well. And maybe you get all 3 guards on the floor in a way to get some offense tonight. So
all right.
A lot of ways Sixers can go.
Yeah, starting for the Pacers, though, it is Nembhard and Siakam. Mathurin, J. Huff gets the start. Ethan Thompson, Rich, getting the start tonight. This is going to be, I believe, his 5th game this season that he's going to play. He was signed at the end of November, I believe, November 30th from the G League, 26-year-old guard. Ethan Thompson getting the start. We know everybody else, and I know you're a big college basketball guy. You got anything on Ethan Thompson?
So he's a guy that I didn't know he was in the league until I saw their roster today. But I do remember he played for Oregon State when they made the Elite 8 a few years ago. So I do remember his game, and that was a team that largely funneled through him. Like he had a ton of responsibility. And hey, man, like Oregon State making the Elite 8, like you're a pretty good player. That's not a team that's really often in the NCAA tournament. So look, I mean, good for him. He's carving out an NBA role. I think when I look at that starting 5, the other tricky thing for Embiid that I don't like is that J. Huff can shoot threes.
J. Huff, man.
J. Huff can shoot threes.
And he will put the ball on the floor. If you close out on him too fast and you can't control yourself, he will put the ball on the floor.
He's a good athlete. Yeah, he's a good vertical athlete. And that's my worry, right? Is that, okay, not only can he shoot threes, and that's like, okay, is just Joel going to be able to handle him on the perimeter, those type of things. That's number one. And then, like you said, if he closes out too hard, it's like, oh boy, well, he's getting into the paint, and then, they're getting a dunk or an open 3 or whatever. So again, I think this is the big takeaway I have heading into this game is if I'm the Sixers, like they got to play well tonight. Like I don't think this is an automatic dub by any means. And I would have said that even before Tyrese Maxey was out for the game. Now it's like, it feels very much like a toss-up game to me.
Nah, this one's going to be interesting, man. So let's get to our Bet365 pregame picks presented by Bet365. Never, whatever the moments, never ordinary at Bet365. Let's see what we have there, Bree. Let's run some of the picks. Just me tonight, everybody. Joel Embiid, 3+ assists, Rich. I don't know where to go tonight with this one. Andrew Nembhard over 16.5 because he always seems to destroy the 76ers defense. That's the same game parlay of +150. Maybe if you tack on a few extra things there, you can use that 30% profit boost there at Bet365 tonight in the association. So, Rich, I wanted to go 5 because I think they are going to send extra help to Huff. But because of their scrambling defense that they have anyway, they're just fast, they're handsy, they get all over the place. They're going to send help. He's going to have to get the ball out of his hands. And as you pointed out in the first segment, he is one that's willing to pass. I wanted to go 5, but I said, you know what? Let me stick with 3. And if things that change, then we can adjust live in-game betting at Bet365. That's a +150, everybody. If you like it, jump in at Bet365. Make that wager new customers when you do sign up. Get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And when you sign up, use our code PHLY365. What do you make of those little selections there, Rich?
I think of those two, the Nembhard one is probably the tougher one. I think Joel's going to have 3 assists. Like they're going to have to play through him a decent amount. And as we've seen too, like even when he gets the ball on the block, like teams are still doubling him a decent amount, even though I think we're sitting back in the studio wondering, like should you be doubling him at this point? Like, is it a few years ago? So that would be the Nembhard one would be the thing I would look for. But again, he's been a big scorer all year. I think that's again, it's a very sensible bet, as you usually put out there. Man, I really hope Joel has a good offensive game because that was not fun talking about that game the other night when he was terrible and people were very mad after the game was over. And I was like, I thought the process was okay, but it stunk. You can't shoot 4 for 21. They would have won the game if he would have shot 10 for 21. So one of those deals where I would love to see a bounce back game from him tonight. Am I confident of that? Maybe 50-50.
I know. One thing he can't do, though, can't get into hero mode because Tyrese Maxey is not out there. Cannot do that tonight.
No, he's not capable of going hero mode right now.
That doesn't mean he can't think it in the beginning, and then they get out, things get out of hand a little bit early. All right, that'll do it for us, everybody. We'll be back 10 minutes after the game goes final. Will Joel Embiid turn back the clock a little bit, have a very good, efficient game? And I mean turn back to the Toronto Raptors at the beginning of this season. How about that? Not even turn back the clock of MVP Embiid, just go out there and play a really good game, help lead this team to a victory. All right, we'll do all that when we get back after the game. Make sure you join us on this Friday night, hanging out with us, recapping the game here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. For Rich and Bree, Derek from the arena. We'll see if we can catch up with him as well. I'm Devon. Enjoy, everybody. We'll talk to you post-game right here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show.